This right here is luxury because of this piece. What it is, YouTube, you know what it is. It's your boy, the Moose. You remember? So I got to take you back in a time warp because he just reminded me of something crazy. We went to Weeks Welding in Nederland, Texas. And I got to take you back on a trip. So we were actually on the Hercules. We were actually welding the underlay of the. We were actually adding on to a stilted crane called Hercules. And Hercules was an Argentina ship. We were revamping it for LNG gas. They were still going to put, they're going to put the crane back on. But as we were doing construction on the new ship, they had to take the crane off, and they were retrofitting the ship. They're going to put the crane back on. But how it was going to work is the bay of the ship was going to house all of the foundry, and basically what was going to happen is it was going to drop the pipe in the ocean as it went for LNG. So basically you would get the pipe. This is how they would come in sections at about probably 8-foot section. I'd say about an 8-foot section. The pipes come in 8-foot sections, and basically the ship would have barges full of the pipe. Maybe I think they said they carry about 3 to 4 barges with them, and they would have on deck. They would have pipe too. What they would do is they would unload the pipe to the deck, and then basically get it down to the bottom underneath where, oh man, it's a huge bay, and it's an open bay. And what they would do is they would start the welding there, and it would have its progressions. It would go through 4 stations, and it would be x-rayed twice before getting dropped in the water. So it would be inspected. They would have an inspector on hand to inspect the weld before it gets dropped in the water. So basically, by the time it gets ready to get dropped in the water, it was dropping in the water. They would have an end cap on the pipe until it's ready to be connected to the other side, which is basically where they're getting the gas from. And somebody go down, dive down, and they would actually weld it there, weld it on. It's a process. It's a cool process. It's basically how they do everything. It's pretty insane. But so he was taking me back. So I started working. I worked out there for maybe 6 weeks. We were at we were actually not on the water. It was actually in a dry port, but the boat was in the water. So all the work was done. It was rigged up. They were basically linging, and you can look down and the water's underneath you. It was pretty crazy how they had it set up. But anyways, the mess hall was in effect. And you talk about the ship's mess hall was insane. All you can eat, whatever you wanted, they gave it to you. And dinner was 11 o'clock. So I worked out there for a couple weeks, and then the company that owns the ship actually wanted me in the factory because I knew MIG welding. I basically had my hours for MIG welding. I had my hours for stick rod welding, and I had my hours for tungsten, tip tungsten welding. I'm going to show you those 3 right now so you kind of get an idea. But I will tell you this, I did not have that tungsten like that. That's the Cadillac of every dreamer's tungsten. The people that actually lay the rod would like that, but you don't get it. Now the differences between tungsten and stick rod are the gloves. So on tungsten, on TIG, you are using what they call a thinner leather. You're actually using antelope, or you're using it's a thinner leather. You're not using cow leather, and that for the stick rod, you need a thicker pleat. So basically, you're going to go to a thicker skin. So yeah, you have to have a thicker skin leather to run stick rod because it runs hotter than tungsten. Tungsten is totally different process. I'm going to show you. Now, they were actually discussing this, and this is another thing why I brought it up. Because my friend shot me this about how they were building the new Elon is building the new Starship. Well, they started out, they don't use stick rod for Starship because it's not made for stainless steel. So they're basically they were using MIG process. I'll show you. They're basically using the MIG process, which is basically I downloaded it. I don't have everything pulled up, so I'm going to pull it up right here. I have to look for it. I don't think it's in downloads. Nah. There it is. No, where did I put it? Okay. Here's one. Now this is what I was talking about. You don't get this. You don't get this in the TIG. See here. Let's view the image. Let's zoom in on the image. I'm going to show you this. I know it's a picture of it, but it's basically it. See, this right here is your activations. Now, this piece right here sticking out where the thing is, that is the TIG. That's the tungsten. Okay? You're not using the tungsten only to create leverage. Notice how it looks like a pencil. Okay, notice this piece right here, this pink piece. It's actually pink. Yeah. This is not what you think it is. A lot of people think it's metal, it's plastic. No. This is ceramic. This is ceramic on the end. They break easy. And then you have this piece right here. This piece right here, the housing. And then you have the chemical coming in, the tungsten, because the tip is tungsten, but you also have the chemicals coming in for the tungsten machine. Now this basically almost looks how the wires coming through like this. This actually kind of reminds me of the MIG welding, because the MIG welding does the same thing, but technically in the field, or if you're working, this is a luxury right here. This is a luxury item. This right here is luxury because of this piece right here and this piece right here. Notice how it's kind of coming up, down, and over here like this is because this piece right here, the tungsten, heats the metal. The chemical and the tungsten heats the metal. The oxygen, I think it was oxygen or whatever it was, is coming through here and it's heated up and it's heating the metal. And then this piece right here comes in. This is the filler to the metal. So basically this is the tungsten. It doesn't do nothing but creates the heat for the metal. It touches the metal to make the heat explode, and then this comes on there like that. Okay, so that's that one, right? Now this one is the stick rod. I believe it's a stick rod. Yeah, it's going to show up here. Now this is stick welding. I wanted to show you the three differences between the stick and I can show you. So this is the negative right here, and this is the positive. And then you have the power source. So what you're going to do is this. This piece right here you take is probably a R11 or it depends on the stick that they want you to use. Certain welding jobs you have to have a number. 11 is probably going to be the most widely ranged used ones, and then they have these big old thing called drag rods. The only time they use drag rods is for different setups and different kinds of metal. So the project will tell you what you're going to use. Now when you're out in the field, this is probably going to be the best welding process there is, because everything is going to be on the truck for you. Your power source is on the truck, so you have no problems. These two leads can go long ways. They can go a long ways. So this is like probably going to be the best. It is the best field use of welding. Now when you use this welding, you have to have a fitter with you when you're welding the pipe. So there's going to be a fitter who fits the pipe, and then you have the welder that comes in, and what will happen is the welder will start at the bottom, the fitter will fit the bottom, he'll tack the bottom, the fitter will make sure that the bottom is there, they raise up the top, and he'll measure the top to make sure that it's there. Then they tack the top, and then they do the same process to the sides. And as they're doing this, they're making sure that each and everything, because the pipe has to have a certain gap in between the two pipes coming together. And when you do the pipe together, okay, notice this right here. Okay, it's not that deep, but it can be. But usually they're not this like shit. That's a big buildup. That would take a lot. If you think about putting it on this side and taking the other piece on this side, you're making a big old huge mountain out of that thing. Basically what it'll look like would be maybe down to here like this, and then down maybe about here. It'll be cut off and going down straight. And that's how it'll look. And then what you do is you name it, basically you would take the bottom of this piece where this is right here, and you would tack this, and then you tack the top and tack the two sides, and the fitter would fit them. And then basically after he is done, he'll tap you on the shoulder and say go. And then basically you'll run the first bead. Okay, you run the first bead. After this is done, you'll get the grinder out, and you're going to take the grinder head, and you're going to put the steel. I can't think. You're going to put the steel brush on, and you're going to actually take the steel brush around it, and you're going to look at it. And some people, they don't grind it, the first one. They usually use the steel brush to get the slag off. They got to get the slag off the fucking top of it. And then, see, this right here is the slag. You can tell it's right here. It says slag right here. That's the work prop, and it gives you slag. And you have to take that slag off in order for you to do the next run. Usually it's maybe three. It's gonna probably be 1 to 3 runs. Depends on the rod that you're using. Now I've seen drag rods where they do drag rod and they do 3 and they're done. So it just depends on the size of your rod that you're using for how many passes you're gonna get to the top. And as you're doing this, you're using your grinder, and you have 2 grinders with you. That way you don't have to change the grinder out. You're going to have 2 grinders with you. Some don't even use they'll use a metal brush real quick because then it's a lot simpler. But some people will throw the grinder wheel. They'll have 2 grinders. But the brushworks, it makes it a lot faster process. So then we had the last process. And this is your MIG welder. Alright? So here, we're going to start with this. You're going to have your shielded gas that goes into the MIG weld, which is this line right here is a gas feed. And then you're going to have the MIG gun wire. And it's going to be in the machine. And it's going to come in the machine, and it's going to come out the machine. And remember what I showed you, the tungsten. Tungsten usually use 2 hands to weld. When you're learning in the shop, you're learning with 2 hands. They teach you that way in 2 hands for a reason. Because 95% of the time, you don't get that Cadillac machine. You have to do the work. And then you have the base. There's the base, and here's the weld, and here's the weld pull. And basically, here's your trigger point, and here's your welding wire, and here's your little cap with the end. And it comes out the end. I am going to be getting me a MIG welding machine. So when I do pick one up and purchase it and get it all set up, I will do a video on how to. I'm going to do some. We're going to actually redo my DJ setup. I'm going to actually put metal involved with a couple things, especially where the laptop stand comes in. I'm going to fix that. It's going to be welded down instead of, and I have to use MIG welding because the reason is because MIG welding is the temperature on the MIG welding is going to be a lot easier for you to do on that process. Anyways, I thought I'd take you through something a little different. Yeah, I know. I did put a story in there. I did put a story. But so, what do you think, man? And this was what I did before I was a DJ. Yeah, I did say that I wasn't. Yeah, I actually put in AC units. I didn't weld at the end, but this is my metal. This is where I learned. I learned everything in the shop. I learned everything in welding school, and I got out and I hit the grade. And 2005, well, 2004, I started welding school, and I got out in 2005, and I was out 3 weeks, and the inevitable happened. But anyways, we won't even go into that one. But that's what I did before I was DJing, and my friend reminded me of it. And so did this video of they're talking about the starship that they're building, and I thought I'd bring that up and show you from experience, because you only got what you got, right? Oh man, I hope you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and leave a comment below. Go ahead and share this video. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and ring that trusty bell for more notifications from videos like countless others. Smash that like button and check out one of these videos right down here. And deuces, baby.